This time we're going to be talking about the latest Steven bomb. I'm Victor Frost.
And this is Steven Universe.
Anime Los Angeles. Super fun, and there will be videos to come out of it, but playtime is over. It's time to get back to business. Steven Bomb 5 Out of This World took us on one heck of a journey. To say the stakes have never been higher would be, well, a gross overstatement if we're being honest. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the Earth was literally going to crack open like an egg. But this time, the consequences of failure were much more personal. There's a lot to dig into, but first, let's get the play-by-play. Steven, after dreaming of the palanquin and discovering that it's a real thing, thanks to Connie, asks the other crystal gems, hey, what's up with that? Amethyst draws a blank, but Pearl and Garnet know, though they keep mum about it. This makes Steven frustrated as all get out, so he gets out and goes to Greg for help, who then calls on Uncle Andy to fly them to Korea. Hijinks briefly ensue, and the gene pool is smaller than you'd expect until they find the place where the palanquin is. Though something is off, and it looks about 2,000% newer and bluer. Turns out Blue Diamond popped in for a visit to Pink Diamond's old broken palanquin, and surprise, surprise, Steven's unpredictable powers means he wasn't dreaming, he was seeing through Blue Diamond's eyes. Because plot. After a brief heart to polymorphic giant heart talk between BD and Greg, Matsumoto Diamond commits a Class 1 Greg napping and promptly spirals away to the human zoo. At which point, hey look, it's Garnet, and the reason she couldn't take you was because surprise, surprise, future vision. But hang on to your bits because it's time for space. But first, Pearl needs a chair, Peridot says useful things that no one listens to, Lapis shrugs, and off we go! Things very quickly get hilariously out of control. Then not so hilariously out of control as Steven realizes the same thing anyone who buys swords at anime convention realizes, namely that maybe he shouldn't have rushed into this. But it's okay because everything is okay. Oh look, everything is not okay. As Cartoon Network briefly turns into Univision, Sapphire suggests that they play to type, which works well even under the scrutiny of Holly Blue Agatha Trunchbull. Their plan to find Greg works, but not how they thought when Steven gets a first-hand lesson in zoology, eventually discovering that his dad is perfectly fine. After faffing about with the Zoomans for a bit and Greg getting a lesson in artificial selection, they get grabbed by the Amethyst guards who take them to their barracks where Amethyst is perfectly fine. But before they can settle in, guess who? It's Holly Blue. And what's this? Blue Diamond is back? Wow, guess Greg and Steven had better avoid her then. Ding dong, who is it? It's Blue Diamond. And Yellow Diamond. Shit. After Yellow Diamond guns for a Tony, Steven and Greg skedaddle as Amethyst, Ruby, and Sapphire play a game of Hide the Universe with Holly Blue. They lose, but then win as Garnet activates her trap card, Amethyst unleashes her 50 Shades of Purple, and Pearl tells HB Rough and Stuff where to stuff it. The whole gang gets on their ship and Klaatu Barada Niktos right out of there. Beach City, here they come. There were a lot of major and minor arcs and characters being introduced and developed in this series of episodes. But if I had to pick a single theme for this whole bomb, it would be connection. So what do I mean by that? We start with Steven. Here is a boy who is disconnected from his own past. Over the course of his life, he's had little, maybe even no contact with his extended family, to the point that he didn't even know his family's original last name. His mother is dead, and it's only over the last couple of years that he's actually started to learn about her and who she was, outside of the abstract idea of her. Outside of the her in the painting. The people who know the most about Rose, Pearl, and Garnet, they want to preserve the best possible image of her. So it's uncomfortable for them to discuss some of the more gruesome aspects of her life, many of which no doubt comes from the necessities of war. And then there is information that they simply don't know because Rose hid it from them. She had her secrets. And so, Steven has to find out many of the details from outsiders. Steven is hungry for his true history, but but at almost every turn it seems he has to claw and scrape for each piece. Now Rose's actions are starting to come back to haunt Steven. The upshot of this is that he's getting more information than ever. The downside is that it comes with danger, an aspect that Steven isn't always aware of, or in the case of this arc, cares about. And as Rose's past affects Steven's present more and more, his desire to know about her increases. He's reaching out for a connection to his mother, a person who is literally a part of him, but that he knows next to nothing about. And then there are the diamonds. This is the most screen time the diamonds have gotten, ever. And it does so much to humanize them. They're no longer this mostly abstract, malevolent force. They're people. People at the peak of a caste-type system with very utilitarian views on the lower layers, granted, but people. In this arc, we see how Blue and Yellow Diamond deal with their connection to Pink Diamond. Blue, out of her love and mourning for Pink, wants to preserve as much of her legacy as possible. The zoo, the Zoomans, the gems from Earth. Keeping them around helps her stay connected to Pink, even though she's gone. And this is relatable. This jacket, and this model truck, and even the abacus I used in previous episodes all belong to my grandfather. Keeping them around and taking care of them is how I keep my connection to him. On the other hand, keeping a connection to someone you cared about and lost can also deeply hurt. Getting rid of reminders of that person doesn't mean you don't care about them, it just makes it so the loss doesn't sting so often. It's why I've gotten rid of almost everything my ex-girlfriend ever gave me. And it's why Yellow Diamond is so set on Earth being destroyed. Not because there's a logical reason behind it, Peridot already tested that, but because its existence is a reminder of her loss, and its destruction would bring about a sense of closure. Finally, let's talk about Amethyst. Amethyst's role in this bomb was small, but not without decent development. One thing she's been struggling with over the past couple of seasons was her sense of identity. For thousands of years, she was fine. She never questioned her size or appearance. As far as she was concerned, this was how she was always meant to be. But now, for lack of a better way of saying this, she knows better. Even beyond that, Rose, Pearl, and Garnet were all from Homeworld, but she isn't. As she says in On the Run, "I wish that I could say that there's no better place than home, but a home's a place that I have never known." Even though she's from Earth, she felt no connection to it. Being the only gem apart from Steven that she knew as an Earth gem, there wasn't much weight to being from Earth. No sense of past or history. In fact, the only pure Earth gem she's ever met was Jasper. And that's why when she went to bubble Jasper's gem, she calls her sis. She's a fellow quartz from Earth. When Amethyst and the rest of the crystal gems were about to leave the roaming eye, Amethyst was worried that she would mess things up because she didn't know how to act. That next to a real Amethyst, she might stand out as different. But lo and behold, they're all a bunch of rough and rowdy goofballs, just like her. Not only did she find a room full of Earth quartzes like her, she literally found her specific group, her family, her Famethyst. But there's actually a detail in that whole interaction that I thought was really interesting. In Peridot's interaction with Yellow Diamond, she introduces herself confidently as Peridot. She's a very prideful person. She considers herself and her work distinguished enough to warrant individual recognition just by her gem. But when she had to clarify exactly which Peridot she actually was, facet 2F5L cut 5XG, it was a reminder that, no, she's just another Peridot among countless others. But then you have Amethyst, insecure and a little lost in terms of herself. Learning which specific Amethyst she is, facet 5 cut 8XM, doesn't diminish her, rather it connects her to her past and her kin. It places her and helps her resolve her previously disconnected sense of self. This bomb was chock full of interesting little crumbs of lore, jokes, and inconsistencies. But we'll have to get to them another time. Mind whilst, I'll be working on the video from Steven Universe live at Anime Los Angeles, and some other stuff. Join us next episode when we find out what Connie, Lapis, and Peridot were up to while Steven was away on New Crystal Gems. I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you next time on Steven Universe. Hi there. Can you guess what I do? I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with that. See that over there. See you soon.